I'd like to talk a little bit about the good ideas and the persons which we are trying to make an example for the humanity, whose I know lectures, preaching, we intend to set as an example for the whole humanity. I think even the not so clever people have this possibility of finding a very good idea, and in the same time the genius can be wrong on so many issues that we always should remember that we shouldn't take a holistic approach to any clever guy or a clever woman, because for instance what I have in mind here, the best example of this would be an example, for instance, of Montesquieu, the Charles de Secondat, Baron de Montesquieu. He was the major liberal thinker, maybe the most important liberal thinker. His idea was to create a society with that could exist between the legislature and the executive power, so between two powers, and so that the whole society between those two powers that would be competing with each other all the time, that society would be free, because it wouldn't be subjected to absolute power of one authority. Yeah? So and the same we have today, as the one of the interpreters of Montesquieu's views and theories, Pierre Manon, the French historian of ideas and French historian of thought, and a historian of the liberal movement. He said that it's no difference today when we have the coalition and the opposition in one government, and they are playing more or less the role of the king and the parliaments in the vision of Montesquieu. So it's the same, and it's functioning pretty well thanks to this idea. We have the liberal society, and we know how to construct it. For instance, Montesquieu was also made a very clever remark that the people living in harbors or close to the coastline usually pretty liberal, and they are usually not tempted by any chauvinistic attitudes and so on, because they know that the foreign people are just regular people like themselves, and they are not having horns on their heads or anything like that, because they know those foreigners. And we can observe this in relation to today's USA. For instance, when we see the liberal coasts and we see the conservative chauvinistic heartland of the country, well, of course it's an exaggeration, but we see that there's some interesting pattern here. But in the same time, Montesquieu was of an opinion that you should die in the same class of the society you were born in. So you were born in. So you shouldn't change, you shouldn't achieve higher levels of society or something like that, because it wouldn't be prudent, Montesquieu thought. And of course it would be this idea when put into existence and put into some put into the reality, it would be very damaging to this whole concept of liberal society. And it's very interesting, yes, that the liberal thinker, one of the major liberal thinkers, maybe the biggest, the greatest liberal thinkers, have already this anti-liberal motion in his books, and we can see that. And of course Voltaire criticized, for instance, criticized him for that motion, because he was trying, personally, Voltaire was trying to switch classes. He was trying to get get above to the aristocracy, as his father before him also. But And also Montesquieu was of an opinion that Montesquieu was also of a different opinion that there is a close connection, connection between the character of the nation and the political system adapted there, and the climate. So the climate first, then the national character, and then the system. That it's not good for every people. The same government, the same form of government shouldn't be couldn't be good for all people. Yeah, bullshit. Yeah. So you see that. Already in the age of enlightenment, many of his contemporaries, his other philosophers, they were criticizing him for that motion. They were pointing out the examples of Russia, China. So as Montesquieu said, that despotic power is where the climate is warm and it's not so much humidity in air. And they were pointing out that and warm, yes, and Russia, China, not exactly warm, right? So, for instance, Benjamin Franklin, who has had many interesting and fantastic ideas about society and everyday life, also, and economy, he also had this idea that when early to bed, early to rise makes men healthy, wealthy, and wise. And then it's also a bullshit, because we see that especially as far as wealth is concerned, because we see that the biggest wages have those people who have these creative kind of jobs, and they were usually very often they are not getting up till I don't know 1 p.m. or something. Yes, so just accept interesting ideas also from uninteresting people, because it's also possible that an uninteresting and not so very a genius would provide us with a fantastic idea, and also do not accept the whole master and his lectures as a whole, because it would be a mistake.